Welcome back to the program. We are finally at the stage where things are starting to happen. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because so many of us, me included, have been very impatient. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting for real action to start. Well, as I have said to you previously, and will continue to say until a lot of this stuff really breaks open, is that justice done right doesn't happen overnight. And we are clearly seeing that. And that's a good thing, as I've said before, because we don't want some left-leaning lawyer, some sleazebag that really knows exactly how to poke loopholes in prosecutions being able to work his magic in getting these people off. That is why we are and should be very thankful that this Justice Department in particular is quiet, is meticulous, is methodical, and most importantly, is not leaking anything. Now, of course, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, has come out for the past 30 plus days and has let people know what they have and what they're finding, but not getting into too much and not talking about indictments, just basically glossing over those questions and saying they need to be held accountable. And so many of these people have already lawyered up because they've been in the intelligence community. They know what they did. They know how illegal it is what they have done. And so they've already started to lawyer up. Okay? But this means that things are starting to happen, and they probably are going to snowball at a much faster pace in the next, let's say, 6 months, okay? And could be even a lot sooner than that. So let's start with the obvious, which for whatever reason wasn't even discussed on the Ringside Politics show. I actually had to jump in at the end and kind of throw it in there just to make sure that we had a chance to cover it, so you all didn't think that I didn't know about it or was just ignoring the story. And that is, of course, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, empaneling a grand jury for Russiagate. There's also an update to it as well. So let's go through this one here real quick. So U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has ordered an unnamed federal prosecutor to present evidence to a grand jury in the Russia collusion hoax in response to the criminal referrals from DNI Tulsi Gabbard. And then let's see. Bondi ordered, or they like to repeat these things a little bit. Department of Justice spokesperson declined to comment on the report of an investigation, but said that Pam Bondi is taking the referrals from Gabbard, quote, very seriously. The spokesperson said that Bondi believed there is, quote, clear cause for deep concern and a need to take the next steps. Now, again, this is the type of attorney general you want. You don't want a blabbermouth. You don't want someone that's going to go out there and tell the defense exactly how they need to, litigate for their client. You want someone that's going to keep what they're doing close to the chest, right? So this was some information here.
Well, Will, good to be with you. This is coming out of the Justice Department. Fox News can confirm that Attorney General Pam Bondi today signed an order directing an unnamed U.S. federal prosecutor to take evidence to a grand jury relating to an alleged conspiracy to tie then 2016 candidate Donald Trump to the country of Russia. Now, Fox News reviewed the one-page order just hours ago signed by the Attorney General. A source familiar with the probe confirms this as well, while a DOJ spokesperson declined to comment on this report of an investigation. Fox is told Attorney General Bondi is taking the referrals from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, quote, very seriously. The spokesperson says that Bondi believes there is, quote, clear cause for deep concern, end quote, and a need for the next steps. Now, this move, Will, comes just a couple of weeks after the Director of National Intelligence, you see her right there, Tulsi Gabbard, sent a criminal referral to the Justice Department regarding what she says proves there was a conspiracy to undermine Trump's candidacy and later his first term in office. Now, to be clear today, there are no charges that have been filed, no indictments. This is incredibly early in the process. What we have here is taking evidence the Justice Department believes it has to a grand jury to secure an eventual indictment or indictments. We don't know exactly where the grand jury will meet. We don't know who will go before the grand jury, and that's by design, because grand juries determine if there's enough evidence to indict, and grand juries are secretive in the American legal system, so it's normal not to know all of the answers. Again, the DOJ declining on any comment regarding this investigation. But, Will, big news, this was signed by the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, today to take this evidence of an alleged conspiracy to a grand jury with the hope to get an indictment or multiple indictments.
So there it is. So what does this mean? Well, he's correct. No one's been quote unquote indicted yet. They're doing a grand jury. Now, a lot of people, including myself, have been saying the same thing. If you can get an indictment, can you get a conviction in the DC cesspool swamp? To answer that question, I would say probably not. Why? Well, because most of the people, the judges in particular, the jurors in particular that would be on this grand jury, are all Trump haters. They're all leftists. I mean, look at the breakdown of DC's voting. What was it, 97, 98% Democrat, 2% Republican? I mean, the whole entire city is against the president and is against all of this. Not to mention, if the judge who gets the case was a Clinton appointee, an Obama appointee, an Otto Penn appointee, even a W. Bush appointee, and possibly even a Reagan appointee for that matter, if there's still some of those around as well. The only chance you would have would be a Trump appointee, right? For the most part. And even that's not a 100% sure bet. They all protect themselves. Now, I'm not telling you this to discourage you at all. What I'm saying is we need a change of venue, okay? Now, how do you get a change of venue? Well, there's a couple of ways that you can do it. First and foremost, what I suggested is that we need to have a Freedom of Information Act request sent out to every single judge that has been appointed by Otto Penn, Obama, Clinton, W, whatever. They all need to be subpoenaed for their records, for their text messages, for their emails, for their communications. And if after getting this information, any person at all, it doesn't matter whether they get a case or not, if anyone at all has had any conversations with any of the people and co-conspirators that are being indicted or that are being impaneled to a grand jury, if any of their lawyers or any of them have any contact with any of these judges, you can immediately ask to have the case moved outside of DC, and you have legal precedent to do so, which would be bias. Okay? Now that's number one. There's also another wrinkle here. Russiagate possibly could be moved to Florida. Why? Well, because technically it's a criminal conspiracy. Meaning what? It's ongoing. It's evolving. So it may have started in Washington, D.C. But let's not forget, Mar-a-Lago was raided. Let's not forget, you had Jack Smith, which was, again, special counsel Jack Smith, who was put in that position illegally. And let's not forget, the state of Florida has been a big part of this. So it's possible, not to mention Pam Bondi was the Attorney General in Florida for a long time, that you could move this case to Florida. Now it's a whole different ballgame. Now you're looking at a real good shot at convicting these people, prosecuting them and convicting them when it's outside of the swamp, okay? So I want you to think about that. And then also, John Solomon was on War Room, and he was talking about that and some other things.
Yeah, so today the Justice Department informed some people that have critical evidence important to the weaponization grand conspiracy case, that there is a prosecutor named and that there will be a grand jury impaneled and that a real investigation will be underway. That's a very important moment. It's a normal moment when you're about to do a grand jury investigation. People, particularly in the government, agencies that are cooperating, they get notified, hey, we're gonna send you a subpoena now, so there's a chain of custody for this evidence, send it over now, and they usually will tell you the prosecutor you'll be dealing with. So that began happening today, and that is a sign, as we were talking about this morning, that this is getting serious now, that the steps are being taken to take that grand conspiracy investigation that the FBI and Kash Patel sort of drafted out and put it to a prosecutor and start getting evidence in the mill and start letting jurors hear what really went on.
Why did they, all MSNBC and folks this afternoon, focus on Jack Smith? It's broader than that, but why did they, was there any hint or any leak that this had something to do with Jack Smith, or they immediately jumped on Jack Smith and the Hatch Act?
Yeah, I think it's the announcement on over the weekend that the Office of Special Counsel has a Hatch Act violation. And by the way, that's the sort of thing that could eventually get rolled up to a special prosecutor, an all-encompassing prosecutor. If there is evidence of a politicalization of Jack Smith's investigation, which, by the way, is in the statute of limitations now, because Jack Smith wasn't even appointed until late 2022, that falls in the statute. That could become part of this larger conspiracy case, what we call the grand conspiracy case of weaponization. So I think MSNBC and CNN are able to put two and two together and realize, hey, Jack Smith's investigation was launched by pressure from the Biden White House and NARA. We know that from the National Archives. He raids Donald Trump's home. That's in Florida. This looks like the wash, rinse, repeat cycle we've been talking about. So they understand that all of these players are going to be brought before a grand jury now, and panic has set in. And I find it hysterical to see MSNBC worrying about the legal bills of people now, because they didn't seem to care about that the entire time Donald Trump's people were rolling up tens of millions of dollars of legal bills for what we now know to be a bogus allegation called Russia collusion and everything else that followed it.
So the news is a criminal grand jury has been impaneled and is off to its official business of reviewing evidence.
Yeah, I don't know if it's fully been impaneled yet, but people have been told that Pam Bondi has made the decision. Here's the prosecutor. The grand jury subpoenas are coming. Whether a grand jury gets impaneled on a Monday, or it might take a Tuesday or Thursday when you meet with them. Typically, they meet Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays in the various districts. Whether it's impaneled yet for this purpose, we don't know, but the intention is to do that, and the parties that own some of this early evidence have been informed of that.
John, make us smart once again. You did a great job this morning. What should the audience be looking for?
I think a series of subpoenas starting to go out now, and subpoenas will start with federal agencies, intelligence agencies, and the FBI won't need a subpoena. They can turn it over. But other agencies like the National Security Agency, the CIA, the Director of National Intelligence, any whistleblowers who've come forward that might have possession of private information, all of that is likely to be the next round. You'll see a blizzard of subpoenas to start the gathering process of the evidence, and then once the physical evidence is in, you'll start to see people be asked to appear before the grand jury. If they won't do so willingly, they'll also be subpoenaed. So it's not unlike what you see in Congress, except that it happens in the secrecy of a grand jury in a federal courthouse. The big mystery to me, and I haven't been able to get it confirmed yet, is where is this grand jury going to be impaneled? Will it be in Florida? We just had a Miami U.S. attorney finally confirmed. People are very high on him. Does it go to Florida? Does it start in D.C. and transfer later? We don't know that level of information yet, but we're working on it.
I'm telling you right now, if they indict with a grand jury, not just all these people, but Jackoff Smith, they're going to be able to request the whole criminal conspiracy. Because remember, if it was a criminal conspiracy that stopped, and it just ended at one point, then no. You're stuck in D.C. unless you can figure out and find bias somewhere, through documentation, right? But the way this works, this was an ongoing conspiracy, which is, again, how Barack Obama could lose his immunity and actually be prosecuted, because it's an ongoing conspiracy. It hasn't ended. It went from 2015, from the escalator basically, all the way to 2024. And Barack Obama technically wasn't president for the last 4 years. I say technically, right? Obviously. And so what does that mean? That means that he was, quote, out of office. And if they can prove that he's part of the criminal conspiracy and Jack Smith and helped order it and all this and that, I'm telling you, this is just beginning, folks. It's just beginning. And the best part about it, the absolute best part about it, is the people that are prosecuting it, for the most part, are the ones that knew about it and exposed it to begin with. Kash Patel. He was in the intel community as a whistleblower talking about the Russia hoax. He knows everything. He could go to sleep at night and he could do an entire deposition by the time he woke up in the morning. He knows everything, okay? Bongino was on top of it as well. Pam Bondi obviously was not because she wasn't in D.C., but so many other people that they have around them have been covering it, have been talking about it. So what I'm saying is, be patient. Be patient. Give this Department of Justice the benefit of the doubt, and let's see what happens. Let's truly see what happens. I want to see this thing moved out of D.C. and into Florida or somewhere else, preferably Florida, okay? Because in Florida, you're going to get a fair shot at prosecutions, in my opinion. Okay, let's move on. So, this one's going to be interesting. We have the House Oversight Committee issuing subpoenas to 10 big-name politicians and deep staters for depositions, okay? So, Comer, the good guy, not the bad guy, is asking for people to come in and under oath do sworn depositions. Now, I don't know if they're going to be public. I don't think they are. They're probably going to be private, and then we'll have to hear about what happened. But this is happening, and here are some of the information. Subpoenas have already been issued to 10 big-name politicians and deep state operatives, compelling them to appear for depositions in the next coming weeks. The House Oversight Committee, a short time ago, issued subpoenas to the likes of Hillary Clinton, her husband, Bill Clinton, former FBI directors James Comey and Robert Mueller, who, by the way, is very interesting, and I guess I could even use the word convenient. But if you remember in the Mueller investigation back then, there was a time where they interviewed him. And when they interviewed him, he used things like, well, that's above my purview, and da-da-da. And then he started talking about how he didn't know certain things about his own investigation, which, if you can remember, and again, you're going to have to go way back into the memory bank here, I said at the time, he's shot. His mind is shot. He wasn't running his own special counsel. He let Weissman do it. Weissman was the one that was running the special counsel, not Mueller. Now, why do I say that? Pretty simple. Because they're going to subpoena a guy who's right now suffering from dementia and living in a memory facility. Okay? Robert Mueller is living for the last 2+ years. He is living in a memory facility suffering from dementia. So, how do you subpoena somebody that lives in a memory facility and you're going to expect to get some type of deposition? It would be the exact same thing, in my opinion, as doing that to Joe Biden, because Mueller is basically the same as Joe Biden now. Okay? So I just wanted to point that out. But former Attorney General Eric Holder seems to be pretty darn sharp. Loretta Lynch, she seems to be pretty darn sharp. So these are some of the big names. Let's see. Who else was it? So they even have the dates that it's going to happen. So you have Hillary Clinton scheduled for October 9th. You have Bill Clinton scheduled for October 14th. You have Merrick Garland scheduled for October 2nd. You have FBI Director James Comey scheduled for October 7th. You have former U.S. Attorney General William Barr scheduled for next week, August 18th. Now, let's stop there. There was a story today, and maybe I'll put it in the in the description, because I don't have the ability right now to show you on the video and all that. But there's a Project Veritas, not James O'Keefe, but the other group. And honestly, hey, the more the merrier, right? Whether it's OMG Media, whether it's Project Veritas, who cares? Let's bring in a third one. I don't care. Bring in 100 more. As long as they're doing what they're doing to expose people. There's a story with, I like to call him the Saint Bernard, right? Because he looks like a Saint Bernard. Bill Barr, the former Attorney General, working with a, quote, supposedly conservative, not really, black radio talk show host and TV talk show host named Armstrong Williams, right? We'll call him Weak Strong Williams for this matter. And a whistleblower who I believe was from another country, I think Puerto Rico or somewhere like that. I don't remember where she was. Long story short, she was hired to work with Bill Barr and this guy Armstrong Williams. And what they were doing is they were issuing multi-million-dollar visas to foreigners that had a lot of money overseas, and they wanted to come to the United States. Well, in order to come to the United States, you have to have a reason. So what was their reason? You have a business, right? You have a business, right? Don't you? Oh, yeah. We have a business, right? We have a business. Sure we do. So what was happening is Bill Barr, the former Attorney General, knew about this, was in control of all of this. He was allowing this guy, this Armstrong Williams guy, to be paid millions upon millions of dollars directly in lieu of bringing these people in. So these people were paying Bill Barr and these other people for visa fraud. And in turn, they were creating fake businesses, folks. That's right. Fake businesses. Businesses that didn't even exist. Okay, Project Veritas blew this thing wide open. I'll make sure and put it in the comment section so you all can see it for yourself. So Bill Barr is now going to be under investigation. He's going to be deposed of on August 18th. Former U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales under George W. Bush's term back then, August 26th. And believe it or not, former U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, that's right, Jeff Sessions, August 28th. Remember, Sessions was a big part of this. Sessions was part of the overall cover-up as well. And remember, he was supposed to be MAGA. He was supposed to be, the senator from Alabama who became, the Attorney General under President Trump's first term. I think he was his first Attorney General. He didn't last very long. Was it 4 months, 5 months, whatever it was? Bottom line, they're all in on it, and including Jeff Sessions. So he's going to be deposed on August 28th. Former FBI Director Robert Mueller is supposed to be September 2nd, but like I said, he's living currently, right now, in a memory care facility. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. Former U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch, September 9th, and former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder, September 30th. Okay? So a lot of stuff is happening, folks. A lot. I can't put my hands around everything, but I can tell you right now, I'm smiling from ear to ear because we together, me, you, the audience, we have been reporting on this stuff day in and day out for the last 4+ years. All the different shows I've done talking about the 2-tier, multiple-tier, million, trillion-tier justice system. Maybe it's going to end. Maybe it's going to end. I understand we're all skeptics. I get it. I understand. Why wouldn't we be? Look what they've done. But let's have some hope. Let's have some promise here. And let's be patient. All right? Now, Carl, you're going to love this one, buddy. You're going to love this one a lot. So apparently the Democrat senator from California, Adam Schiff, is now under criminal investigation for mortgage fraud. That's right. This just broke right now. Democrat Senator Adam Schiff is under investigation for mortgage fraud. I ran out of pencils, guys, so you're on your own now. But here is Laura Ingraham discussing this real quick. And isn't it interesting that he talked about, nobody's above the law, nobody's above the law. Really? Well, apparently, you're right. You're not above the law.
Administration is corrupt. No one, not even a president, is above the law.
Well, we have a Fox News alert. The Angle has exclusively obtained the criminal referral for Democrat Senator Adam Schiff. It shows the underlying conduct described could result in claims of mortgage fraud. The referral submitted to the DOJ by Housing Director Bill Pulte alleges that Schiff has, in multiple instances, falsified bank documents and property records to acquire more favorable loan terms, impacting payments from 2003 to 2019 for a Potomac, Maryland-based property. Schiff owns a home in California and another in Maryland. Well, perhaps, when the Democrats decided to have Mr. High and Mighty Adam Schiff head an impeachment witch hunt against Trump, they should have done their due diligence, not just on their absurd allegations, but on their own chairman.
Amen to that. So there you go. I'm not going to say his name again because I ran out of pencils. Okay. Final story for the evening, okay? So the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who I hope and pray becomes the next senator in Texas over John Cornyn the Rhino, announces that he is going to file a vacate order for the Democrats and the Democrat seats if they do not return to Texas by the State House Speaker's Friday deadline. Now, let me stop right there. There is video out there, and I'll see if I can find it. I don't know if I can, of the Speaker of the House in Texas. He's got a stack of papers on his desk, and he's got his, thing. He's writing, and he's signing away, and he's getting to grab the next one, signing away, and he's grabbing the next one, signing away. He's got a stack of them. You know what those are? Those are motions to vacate the seats. They are already signed and ready to go. I'm a little disappointed that they're giving them till Friday, but again, that's, just me personally. They should do it automatically. So I have a feeling you're going to see a hell of a lot of these Democrats come rushing back to Texas to do the vote on redistricting by Friday's deadline. I don't know what time it was, but probably by 3 o'clock or whatever. And so that's what he's doing right now. They're serious. And some of them actually are going to be arrested mainly because if they took any money at all from anyone outside to pay for their flee, whether it be hotel accommodations, whether it be meals, whether it be Ubers, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's over $500, because that's the threshold, they can be charged with bribery. And I believe they probably will, okay? Now, let's assume that some of them are stuck on stupid. Some of them say, I'm not coming back. I'm standing against the Trump, blah, 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 all this garbage, right? Let's just say they do. What happens to those Democrats? Well, I can tell you what happens to those Democrats. They will be removed from office, according to everything I'm reading, everything that I'm hearing from Ken Paxton, who doesn't mess around. Okay, when he says he's going to do something, he does it. Greg Abbott, same thing. You don't mess with Texas. These people are for real. So, assuming that they do that, what happens next? Does that mean that Republicans can just run in and take over those seats? Not exactly. That's not how it works. If that's the way it would work, then we'd be doing this all over the country, right? We'd be planting evidence on, this Democrat so we can put a Republican in, or this Democrat would be planting evidence on this Republican to put a Democrat. It doesn't work like that, okay? That's just not the way it works. So how does it work? Well, if they're removed from office, then I believe at that point the governor calls for a special election, basically. And the special election would be whatever Democrat wants to take over that seat. They would then run in a primary to be whoever it may be, to win that Democrat nomination. However, Republicans can also challenge a special election seat. So a Republican can then decide who is going to run against the winner of the Democrat special election. Now, all of a sudden, it's not an automatic shoo-in that a Democrat takes that spot. Now, technically, yes, if the Democrats are removed from the Democrat House, they are immediately replaced with an interim Democrat, not a Republican. So don't think that we're automatically going to have extra. That's not how this works. So you're going to get another Democrat that's going to step in. Now that Democrat, that interim Democrat, could decide, I want to run for the special election. I want to make this seat permanent. Okay, great. If not, they step down, somebody else runs, they win, they're out, the interim is out, and the new one is now the nominee for that district or whatever it might be, and that person runs against a Republican. Now that's a good thing, especially if they can do this and they can get 5 or 6 new seats, because now all of a sudden their districts are going to be smaller, which is going to make it easier for Republicans to win those special elections. So not only, I want you to understand this, not only is it going to be the original 5 seats that everyone's been talking about, but let's just say there's a special election on, I don't know, I think they said 25 Democrats left the state and went to Illinois. Let's just say 20 of them return. 20 of them get back in time and they go, oh, I'm going to be safe. I'm not going to be thrown out of my seat. Doesn't mean that they're not in legal jeopardy. They could still, if they took any money, they could still be charged with bribery. But let's just assume that 20 of them come back and 5 say, nah, you know what? No, I'm going to stand up. I'm not coming back. Those 5 are now going to be vacated. Now it becomes a special election. And let's say Republicans can win 3 out of those 5 or 4 out of those 5 or even 2 out of those 5. Now all of a sudden you got 7, 8, 9, possibly 10, 11 seats just in Texas in the legislature, which will allow Texas to get a hell of a lot more things done, right? So that's what you have to understand. That's what's at stake here. And that's what the Democrats don't understand. They think that they can flee and everything's going to be fine. Well, I really hope that's not the case, because that's exactly what the case was in 2021. But remember, after they did that in 2021, the Texas legislature passed a law saying that it was illegal to break quorum and that you could lose your seat and be prosecuted for it. That is a law now in 2021, signed into law by Governor Abbott. So I'm going to assume that this time it is different. Gosh, let's hope so. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.